Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is Christopher Aaron. We are primarily concerned with the precious metals markets and not listening to rhetoric, not listening to fundamentals that have been proclaimed over and over again for the last 15 years, but actually looking at what is happening in the markets. That is the name of the game here. We had a very important election in the United States yesterday. This is the day after. This is November 9th, and we're going to cover that and look at how that has impacted the precious metals and what we are looking at going forward here. The U.S. election results. An upset victory for Donald Trump, the Republican candidate. He was not favored in most of the polls coming into the election. However, he pulled out some key victories in states such as Florida, down here in the southeast, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and ended up with 279 votes as of the close of the election, as reported here by the Google Election Service. There's still a couple of states that they're not calling yet. You can see that here in the gray. So this number will change, but regardless, he has enough votes to win the electoral college system as it stands here in the U.S. Therefore, he will be the next president, regardless of what happens with these other states. The popular vote looks to be leaning slightly toward Hillary Clinton at this point, although there are still approximately 2 million votes to be counted, so we won't know that for sure. Either way, Donald Trump has won the presidency in a come-from-behind victory. We are not heavily into politics in this channel. It is more to look at how these events are actually impacting the markets. So let's look at it. What happened as the price of gold was responding to the news that Trump was looking to win the election? He was pulling ahead in the polls. He was pulling ahead in the votes counted. And you saw this kind of rise here, basically from 8 p.m. last night, from 1270 spot price in gold, breaking right through 1300 up to just around 1335 when it became apparent that he was going to secure the victory with the wins in Michigan, Ohio, and Wisconsin. Now, after that point, the entirety of this gain was given back by gold. And you had this phenomenon occur in a number of markets. You had basically the inverse of this happen in the dollar. The dollar fell as Trump was winning and then recovered, and the stock market fell and was recovered to finish positive for the day. So you had an initial fear reaction. This is absolutely a fear reaction. When you just see gold rise like this, it is saying, get me into something safe. And then what happened? Well, there was a shift in psychology all of a sudden as people came to their senses to some extent and said, the world will continue. We will not all perish. This will not be the end of the United States nor the world just because Trump has won. So these short-term fear reactions tend to be short-lived, generally in the precious metals and in most markets, unless they are part of a greater backdrop as far as what is happening in the precious metals or in the given market. Flipping over quickly here to look at silver, pulling that up. Silver followed gold, which is a good point for the precious metals because silver, 80% of silver is still consumed for industrial demand. So it's often quite the case that what happens in a market panic is that gold can rise and silver can fall. As silver falls with the industrial side of the equation However, in this case, we saw silver rise modestly, but it still did rise and finished with a slight positive gain here by 20 cents or so from the previous close. Now rising in the overnight hours in Hong Kong and Sydney. We will see what happens with this going forward. If you are a precious metals investor, there is only one technical point at the present moment that you should be concerned with, and that is this magenta-colored long-term downtrend line here that has held the price of gold down not just through the summer, but through the greater part of the last 5 years. We'll show that in a second here. So the spike up, it is no coincidence that the spike up on the Trump rally here to 1335 got just into the vicinity of this line. No coincidence whatsoever. So these same sellers who were selling here at 1378, selling here at 1370, selling here at 1365 in July, selling here at 1355 in August, and here at 1345 in September, this same declining group of sellers showed up here once again to cap this rally. Look at the volume, basically the highest single volume day, eclipsing the volume that was seen on the Brexit vote by almost 50%. Volume being the number of contracts that were traded. So this was a huge, massive volume day, a total fear reaction in the markets, and then it gave it all back. So what can we say about this? This line is very, very stubborn here, and this is basically the deciding factor right now as to what is going to happen with this precious metals early bull market. You had a 30% rise from the bottom in December, giving back about 10% here. This line is going to be deciding the fate of the precious metals market. Zooming this out, you can see how important this line is. Look at that, hitting right there. It's the same line. You just draw a linear trend line from the all-time high at 1900 down here to the 2012 1800 peak. And where does that give you? Is it any coincidence that this same line is being hit again in 2016 and here again for the Trump vote in late 2016? This is the only trend that you should be concerned with if you are a precious metals investor. This is going to decide the fate of all of our investments in this sector. Until gold can break through this declining trend line, nothing else matters. Not what an individual mining company is doing, although some will always do better than others, and we select the better ones in the premium service for a long-term investment. Although silver will eventually outperform gold, none of that is going to matter until gold breaks through this line. It just will not. Zooming this back in again to see how critical this is, it is just so clear right here. So you have a number of sellers showing up here at increasingly lower levels. And we're looking at the support zone here for gold between basically 1200 and 1250. So the only thing you can say about gold right now, when it's between 1330, which is this declining trend line, and 1200 or so, is it's just in no man's land. And unfortunately, guys, this could carry on for a number of months. And anyone who's out there telling you that the world is about to end and gold is going to the moon, I would say, let me know when gold breaks this long-term downtrend line, because it is the only thing that is going to matter as far as when gold is entering the next segment of a bull market advance. If you are still of the opinion that gold is in a primary advance, it must break through this line, and it has been over 5 months now that gold has failed to do so. So we have some technical levels here on the lower end of this chart that would show me if this level was violated here between 1173 and 1200. It would tell me that very quickly we would be looking at a decline back to these lows, in which case you can negate the entire possibility of this being a bull market. So just keep that in mind. I'm not predicting that. Gold is actually looking very feisty right now. It's looking like it wants to break through this downtrend line at some point in the next few months, but we have to stay aware of this. We have to stay unemotional even as these inherently emotional subjects are coming to play. The election, the Brexit vote, which caused this spike here, all of these emotional subjects are causing people to run into safety assets, yet still these sellers are dominating the gold trend. So the point here is not to just say buy, buy, buy until the end of mankind. The point here is to say what is actually happening in the market. Let's pay attention. Let's align ourselves with the market. That is what we do in the premium service, which comes out weekly, covers gold, silver, the GDX, all of the individual miners that I personally am invested in, looking at currencies, individual buy-sell signals, everything impacting the precious metals. I also do individual consultations for anyone who needs an independent, researched perspective on their situation. I thank you very much for watching. We will be back next week. This time, we will see if anything significant has changed as far as the technical situation in gold every single week right here. Thank you.